Yeah, Sam, Melbourne has now won 3 matches on the trot, but Clayton Oliver did not play on the weekend. Can you tell us why?
There's a myriad of reasons. I think there's 3 main ones, and the biggest one and the most glaring one that we can bring to you tonight is the fact that Clayton Oliver is frustrated with his lack of game time that he's being afforded at the Melbourne team right here, right now. Now, we know that this guy has been, or was at least for a long time, one of the stars of the competition, and when he was doing that, he was playing high amounts of game time. High 80% we're talking about. We're now in the 70s and he's frustrated. That's one. We know he's frustrated at his own lack of form. He was told last year to clean up his act off the field. He feels that he's done that. And the third one is that he's frustrated the trade didn't get through. And I think there's a feeling from the Oliver camp, well, if you're going to keep me, Lloydie, and hold me to my deal, then you can't reduce my game time by the amount that you've been doing it.
Yeah, he's not the player that he was. And I suppose if I'm with Simon Goodwin, what I'd be saying back to Clayton Oliver on that is where else can I play you? So if you're not an inside midfielder, where else can you go? Like Cozzy Pickett, he can go in the forward line. Christian Petrarch can play forward. Tom Sparrow can go forward. I'd also say to him that in round 4, Matthew Rowell had 13 clearances. And he just burnt you off. And then in round 5 the following week, Cozzy Pickett came back into the team. So that takes away some of your clearances and stoppage work. So I think no one can tell a coach what to do, or no individual is bigger than the team. So I think he's just got to hold strong here, Simon Goodwin, because I think
you're not seeing the form.
I think they're playing better the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Sam, just line up though with what was released by the club last week, saying that he was basically putting his own welfare ahead of playing football. You're saying that those 3 reasons were the reasons that he was not playing against West Coast in Perth, and the game time is prominent most amongst that.
Yeah, I think that's at the heart, Damo, of his frustrations, and has led to a state in which he's in. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Clayton, to feel that he didn't really want to play on the weekend. Now, they train tomorrow. Everyone at the club believes that he will be there tomorrow, and you know, ideally he'll play against Hawthorn on the weekend. So I take your point that he's not the player that he was. But I guess, Jimmy, the interesting part of this saga from us externally is that they had the opportunity to trade him at the end of last year, and they were the ones that dangled him out there. They've now decided to hold him to his contract, which is their prerogative, but when you face like issues like this after the fact, there's a feeling that it could come back to bite you.
Yeah, I guess the thing for Melbourne is the difficulty of negotiating someone where the other side of that doing the deal, let's use Geelong or another football club, is they know it's a distress asset. So they feel like, Melbourne would feel like the other side has the whip hand. So they're dealing with a big contract that's got a lot of years to run, and actually can he get back to the form that actually got him this contract? So for me, Sam, is that number is actually holding back Clayton getting to another club, because we know clubs have paid for players to play elsewhere.
Some examples below there.
Yeah, but the amount that's there, so even if you halve that, that's too much for Melbourne to live with for him to play elsewhere. So somehow, if they could, it's not going to happen, but if you could renegotiate the contract before you did the deal, it becomes more appealing and easier to move if he still wants to move.
But that's on his terms and his terms only,
correct.
Surely.
Yeah, correct.
And why would he renegotiate, given they've signed him to that point?
But yeah, and I agree with you, Damo, and why should he give up the money? But it just makes it even more difficult, and it makes the trading partners limited, which then Melbourne would be thinking, why would we pay $700,000-800,000 for him not to be on the books? When he's already here, can we work him back into some form?
Yeah, but it hasn't worked. Like he's now missed a game of football, and I'm not absolutely sitting here convinced that it will be the only game that he misses this year, unless some of these issues are dealt with and taken care of. And I think some of the language from 2 of his star teammates and 2 friends in Christian Petrarca and Max Gawn was fascinating.
You know, obviously with Clary at home, I just want to give him a massive shout out. Obviously, it's incredible bravery and vulnerability to be able to kind of speak up and say that he's not all right. And, you know, we're wrapping our arms around him, and I think we've come a long way as men. I think it's incredible that he's been ability to own it and accept that, you know, he's not going well, and I think it's awesome.
What did he say specifically to the group?
Hasn't spoken to us at all yet, but you know, we'll speak to him throughout the week. I've given him a call and text message, and you know, send my best to him.
He made a very mature decision to spend the week off this week. It's been a big first 8 weeks for him, and he came to the club and they organised a good situation where he felt like he was getting a bit overwhelmed and just wanted a week off from the club. And yeah, I actually really applaud the mature decision from both the club and Clayton. And then for his future, I could not care. I am literally week with week with both the footy club and Clayton, so all I care about is him getting up for Hawthorn, him doing it with a smile on his face, and then whatever happens at the end of the year happens.
Sam, your third point was about the trade that didn't go through last year. Are Geelong still a taker for him? Because I sometimes wonder, he's got to be careful he doesn't push it too far and he's got to walk back through the doors again.
Yeah, but, so, look, I'm not sitting here trying to argue his case for him, but Melbourne and Gary Pert are the ones that dangled him out there. And then it's the second year in a row it happened. So he's saying, OK, well, I might actually look at another club. They get down the road with Geelong, and then Melbourne decided, no, actually, the second year in a row, we're going to dangle you out there and then pull you back.
Because the damage control the club was in at the time? Do you think that's
well, if you recall, it was Brad Green who was about to speak at the Melbourne Best and Fairest that night, who wanted to give a note of positivity to the group that night. And
the same day that Clayton Oliver cleared out his locker.
Yes, and he effectively made that decision as the interim chair.
So look, to answer your question on Geelong, things can change. It's May. It's not yet October. But as we sit here tonight, I'm not convinced that they're as keen on him right now as they were during last year, because things can change. Like, I think James Worpel from Hawthorn will end up there, and I think there's a bit of a moving feast with Harley Reid. And we know that he grew up a Geelong supporter. If it's made known that he wants to come home, I think that Chris Scott and Andrew Mackie and Stephen Wells and Steve Hocking will be up to one of their magic tricks to get this guy through the door.
They may fall short come finals time. I think at the moment, they...
Melbourne or Geelong?
Geelong.
Yep.
So, there will be... I think there's no doubt they do need a big-bodied midfielder like an Oliver or James Worpel.
Well, just on Reid, you've been observing him all year and you've been making comments on this show all year about what you're witnessing. And while he's got a contract, Harley Reid, for West Coast for next year, you're not entirely sold that that's right for both parties. No,
and we often talk about players, that Jeremy Cameron's hurt the Giants, but there's not too many that go on and hurt you that badly. I just watch Harley Reid. I just made the point culturally. I just want to say I hope he plays for the West Coast for 10 years. Some try and link these comments that maybe I want to have him end up in the red and black. I couldn't care less. I want him to play for West Coast. But, well. But in terms of his performance, I just feel like if they have any inkling that he doesn't want to be there, or they feel like it's just a matter of time that he'll just see out his contract at the end of next year and then he'll look to leave, I just think where they're at 0-8 as a club, not winning any games of football, it's not as if he's helping their performance that much anyway, that you look to do what's best for your football club, and that is get 3. So rather than just wait another year, can you get 3 players for one and Western Australians that you can build your club around for the next 15 years?
Just to be clear, you'd cash in on him this year?
Well, if I could see his attitude was of a point where he's not going to break through and be the consistent player that they want him to be, because they know
you haven't liked what you've seen from his
I
attitude?
don't think so. I think he came back unfit. So it's not as if you're building your club around somebody at this stage like Harley Reid, who isn't the ultimate professional. And I think it's tough. He's in a poor side, so it's not easy for a second-year player, but he's a 15, 16 possession player currently.